John Brown with Collected Development. Let's talk about Superman 400 anniversary issue, October 1984. And as you can see, they went all out here and have a huge laundry list of comic book artists, two writers, also well known, and right away you get a Howard Chaykin painted cover that looks more like a movie poster than your average comic book magazine in the rack, especially in '84. So as you can see, you open right away and you get this pleasant surprise of a Ray Bradbury introduction. He writes about the history of him growing up and having Superman in his life, and he kind of sets up what Elliot Magen is trying to do here with no wonder I need, you needed, we all needed Clark Kent a lifetime ago. And as we slip, slide, and catapult ourselves yelling into the future, Clark Kent will go with us to make sure that Superman will catch us. And basically what the concept of most of the stories in this anniversary issue are: what will people on this planet and the actual planet that Superman inhabits see him in the near and distant future after he's gone? If they even remember him at all, will he fade into obscurity or still be remembered and revered? It's crazy to think about, but if you think back 300 years, you probably don't know much pop culture from then as well. But again, it starts off with a short introductory by Joe Orlando. If you don't know him, he was a Golden Age artist who worked all the way into the 80s, maybe even longer. But EC guy, and again, like these panelings and showing these historical figures, setting up what we see as Superman, who, dominated the 20th century for sure. Just starts it out, and it's worth it just for that. Again, there's also pinups in here, and Brian Bolland has his own here, and this one is by the artist who did Judge Dredd. Bolland also did Batman the Killing Joke with Alan Moore, which heavily influenced Tim Burton's Batman. And you can see the detail and the dark city behind, and it kind of gave him a interesting kind of 1950s hairstyle. But you see the modern, at that time, 400 Superman in the building, and it's just a great pinup, and there's so many in here. And then the next pinup we have is Kirby with Terry Austin probably inking, and no comic from the 60s, 70s, or 80s anniversary issue would be complete without a Kirby full page pinup like this. Just a classic shot. And then next we do a story. I'm not going to go into the stories because they're each very interesting and worth it, but just keep in mind, same artist until the end. Story by Steranko, who did the art and story, and each story has a different artist. And this next story is by Al Williamson, and again, you can just see the detail and care he put into this. He literally left no stone unturned, detailing the asteroid belt, even having a little Wayne Enterprises nod here in the future, and showing Superman older. Williamson was coming off his Star Wars art run, and again, like, I've seen a lot of that, and he really just outdid himself with some of these panels. That Star Wars work is amazing, but the detail in line art here is just fantastic. And I could look at that all day. Look at this, and he was also a Golden Age EC guy as well. But you can just see the detail. Next, we have a full page pinup by Byrne, and you can see it just kind of looks like Superman flying, and then as you get closer and you see the detail, you see it's the city on its side from a very interesting perspective. And I just really enjoyed looking more and more into that art and appreciating it more and more. Next, you have, I think this is Jack Davis. Jack Davis, also an artist who did a lot of EC comics, but if you had a TV guide laying around from the 60s, 70s, or 80s, he might have done the cover for that. He did a lot of covers for TV Guide, a lot of iconic covers for TV Guide. Next, we have Miller. Keep in mind, this is Ronin DC Miller, 84. This is 2 years before The Dark Knight Returns, but you can already see he has these dark panel boards with the grainy TV type shots, almost little snapshots of what people are saying through screens. So very interesting to see pre-Dark Knight Returns Miller art that's in the same vein. And again, Miller is always doing something different. Really enjoy that. Next full page pen we have is by Leonard Starr. Obviously, if you read comics, you know him from his Annie work, but he is also an EC comic guy, Golden Age, Silver Age, and he did a lot of work for Timely Comics before they were even Marvel, which did Human Torch, Submariner. This is things that he created back then. Really amazing stuff. The next full page pinup is by Walt Simonson. If you are familiar at all, you probably know his amazing run. Same years, 84, 85, that he did on Thor. And I talked about Beta Ray Bill and the Sutor saga and how it might be the greatest Thor stories ever created. He was doing that when he did this art, and I don't know if he did it for any other reason or if he's just homaging his own art in Thor, but there's kind of a rainbow bridge here. Again, the art alone is worth the price of admission for these. And, Superman 400 is still a very reasonably priced, very underappreciated comic just for the art alone. Next, you have Terry Austin and Marshall Rogers. And again, the line art and the perspective, the cityscapes. I mean, look at the cityscape. It is just, and that's not even full page. It's a little over a third the page, and the detail that went into that is just phenomenal. And for those of you who don't know, Marshall Rogers was an architect like me before becoming an artist for comics. And if you don't know his work, just check out Detective Comics issue 475. It's titled, very well known as just the Jokerfish issue, and the cover alone is so worth looking up. And the other thing I would recommend from him is Demon with a Glass Hand, where he was influenced by the Bradbury Building, which also influenced Blade Runner, and that's very prominent in that DC graphic novel. Terry Austin did so many things, but probably best known for his work with Byrne on the X-Men run. But Superman related, he also did the wedding anniversary album issue, I want to say around 96, and I think he did almost all of that, and that is one of my favorite comics. Early, when I was still collecting, starting in 93 or so, and just a wonderful co-creation of this story. This might be one of my favorites. This is my favorite story other than the Steranko, which I'll get into in a little bit. And then next we have Bernie Wrightson, who, you know, was an artist starting in the 60s. He actually lived in an apartment with Chaykin and Milgrom, and I think Simonson as well, if I remember correctly, and they would just hang out and draw stuff. It's so cool, and this is such a powerful image of Superman breaking through brick. The hatch and the shade and shadow on this is fantastic, and if anything, you probably remember he and Len Wein created the Swamp Thing and House of Secrets, 92, I want to say 1971, but just very historically respected artist as well. And the next story we have is a great story, very interesting, very different perspective, even though it's the same writer, Elliot Magen, but this is one of Wendy Pinney's works. Most of you probably know her and her husband Richard Pinney for their ElfQuest series, which started in the late 70s. This is really one of her few mainstream works, and it goes into the university. It shows a female version of Superman, and these professors start arguing about it. But again, really important if you're an ElfQuest fan to probably have this art that is one of her very few mainstream arts that was not ElfQuest related. And then obviously you have Will Eisner, who needs no explanation, the Spirit, creating the graphic novel with Contract with God, and obviously the Eisner Award. I had to look this up because I always see his signature, Will Eisner, and it looks like Disney's, and I was wondering whose is first, and apparently Will's is about 3 years predated Walt's. But that said, they both use the same stylized, I think it's like more of a ink quill pen, so it kind of lent itself to looking very similar. That said, I'm wondering if Disney saw Eisner's signature and kind of homaged it, because he was already an amazing comic book writer back in the 30s. Next, we have Last Son of Krypton. This is Michael Kaluta with Kelly Adler, both very long-standing DC guys. And if you don't know much about Kaluta, he just did a lot of illustrations that had a very pulp, classic look to them. He was very influenced, I think, by Alphonse Mucha, the Art Nouveau artist who did all these very intricate, detailed drawings, and you can see it in this splash. Just the level of detail in the art is just gorgeous. And little homage to Astro Boy there, maybe, probably. And Kelly Adler was a regular DC artist, did a lot of Superman and other DC titles. Next, you have Ditko with just a great, iconic Superman pinup with the Rogue Gallery here. Not many can do what Ditko created or did. Just iconic art, and love seeing that. This next one is one of my favorite creators, artists, Mike Grail. Obviously, you have the Alter Ego and Superman here together, and if for anything, he's well known for many series and art, but my favorite is the '88 Green Arrow series where he was with Black Canary. That I definitely think the TV show Arrow and the Arrowverse in general was based off of. So highly recommend '88 Green Arrow series. Next is Klaus Janson, and he also did a run on Daredevil. By the time Miller was writing and drawing, he was so busy that Johnson did a lot of the Daredevil art for Miller's run towards the end and a couple issues after. Again, just a really great artist, great story, and very, very interesting Superman behavior in there, and it's really great. I know one of my friends got this Superman issue just for the Mobius pinup, which is here with Superman holding a star. And if you don't know much about Mobius, Airtight Garage is amazing. Please check Mobius out. His art is just on a whole nother level. Sometimes it is just so fantastic. The last story was by Steranko, and again, another artist and writer who needs no introduction. And I gotta say, I've been reading comics for 35 years, and the panel and the layouts for this story are just mind-blowing to me, and the way that he does this central figure in the middle and then does these more narrowed paneling to tell the story. I think this story out of all of them is the most cinematic that you could actually make a movie about. That would be very, very, very engaging and interesting. But again, you have this central figure, and then you have these narrow vertical panels that tell the story of this this history. I think it was like 3 to 5,000 years in the future or something like that. But again, just visually and the way it tells the story is superb on so many levels. And then you have the Bill Sienkiewicz, Superman, and for anything that you take away from his art, in my opinion, it's the willingness to be different and just show a different perspective or thought process to creating pop culture images. I mean, this cape just cutting through the page is amazing to me. You have this action at the top, you have this speed being relayed on the bottom, you have this almost serenity of the red cape that causes calmness and strength. I don't know how he does it, but it just feels strong, powerful, amazing, fast, into the void. Anything he does, I just can't get enough of. And then last but not least, Well, there's something on the back too, but you have Jerry Robinson, another Golden Age artist, signature work on Batman. Obviously, he has the Batman and Robin swinging through, and just a laundry list of 80s pop culture characters down at the bottom. I mean, you have Michael Jackson, you have Ed Koch, the mayor of New York at the time. I think that's Reagan, and I'm not sure. That's probably Nixon, or it could be the Joker. I don't know. I never thought that they could look similar, but there you go. I wonder if that's a whole nother story to look into. And then on the back is another just iconic Frank Miller image with the American flag, and I think he was working on a second Daredevil story. I want to say maybe issue 230. He was coming back and had some struggles with what American symbolism meant at the time. Again, Miller has so many deeper meanings to his art and writing, and this is no other better example than right here. And you have the black at the top and the bottom, and then the sweeping flag and darker image of Superman. But again, this is just such a great issue, and thank you for listening. And I just wanted to mention, with books like Superman, as a comic book collector, I get them from time to time. I'm always curious about what they do with his mythology, and it's just an honor, I think, if you're a comic book artist or writer, that you get allowed to write for Superman, because it's a huge responsibility, and you have to elevate the reader with hope no matter what. And you have to never accept Superman will fail no matter what, and have both sides of the perspective before making a choice. I think the theory that Superman is this superior alien who disguises himself as a weak and clumsy person because he sees humanity that way bothers me a lot, because I think it's just the opposite. He might be superior to humans in his superhuman ability, but I think he wants to be like us. I think he sees that as a collective group, we can do amazing things, and when we come together, we create shared experiences that are phenomenological and meaningful to us and others. I think he disguises himself as one of us because he wants to experience our humanity, feel like we do, have really good times and bad times, because the ups and downs in life can be beautiful. And as humans, we tend to never really give up. And I think that makes it a great thing to mimic. And this is a shining example of mythos for Superman and how it relates to us collectively and how we see him. And I think that's why we love Superman. So thank you for listening, and really appreciate you spending time listening, and have a great rest of the day.